I'm Sudeepthi Dondapati. I'm here today to discuss very important topics, right? And these days we've been discussing some of the integral aspects of soft skills at the same time other placement related topics. And exclusively, presently we've been doing some practice questions or sessions on the theoretical topics of the English language at the same time soft skills. So for today's session, creativity is something that we need to have. So we will discuss about we will discuss this creativity, right? And how it is going to play a very important role in today's culture. So let's get started. So this creativity is what everybody is looking for. You work anywhere in any part of the world, you have to have this kind of creativity. And I do not say that it's a rule that everybody should possess this, but I say that it is desirable. And do you know one thing? Everybody looks for creativity, and a person with limited skills is always shortened or is always reduced to limited power and abilities. When he has this kind of creativity in terms of thoughts, in terms of actions, in terms of designs, in terms of projects, in terms of different various forms of implementation, this creativity fetches whatnot everywhere. You have to, it's like you will have this kind of sweeping success in case you're creative. And this duplicacy is everywhere these days, right? You find the original, at the same time you find the fake one. So now in these days, in the present scenario, it's always best to, or it's always good to have this kind of creativity in your workplaces. So today's topic will help you or will make you think how you can be very creative in different aspects. So in your work culture or in any social culture or in any party culture, wherever you do it, but more towards this profession. So all the upcoming engineering graduates who are going to be placed in various companies soon, and already people who have been placed in different places. So it's for all. Everyone can understand, everyone can view, everyone can perceive this concept and add your own natural original flavor to this aspect concept, right? So this creativity is something that you need to understand at length. So innovation, thinking outside the box, mind, idea, vision, imagination, inspiration. So if you have these angles, different perspectives, you can definitely place this at its apex. Okay, so you have to have this kind of innovation. So now let's come back to the point that we are going to discuss, and then we'll try to relate it with the diagram or with the picture you see on the screen. So I would help you understand the concept in and out so that you can come up with creative ways in your professional culture, right? So what it means actually being creative or creativity. Creativity means to perceive the world in new ways. Creativity means to perceive the world in new ways. So why do you have to perceive the world in new ways? So maybe you're not very sure of the things that you're really acting on it. So you have to make clear that you act in certain way which is not the same as the others do, right? So you have to be careful. So you have to make sure this is very much in use these days. Yes, it is always prevalent, it's always common, it's always typical. Okay, so that is what it's very common character nowadays to find people with lot of creativity. So it's like, doing things in your own way, which will not have any sort of resemblance, which will not have any sort of, kind of similarity that will copy or be, that will be a same exact copy of others, like, a replica of somebody's work. No, it's no more that, but it's like, you have your own originality and add your own thought, ability, and the way you bring out, the way you shape your thinking, the way you bring out the output, the way you design something, the way you add on more to already existing advantages, and the way you try to lower all the disadvantages that are there very much in the present culture. It's like if you're working in any area about about some the almost like existing same old kind of antique topic, but there you see, you want to add your own touch to it, so you will start designing it new ways and see how that can be connected and interrelated to the contemporary world, right? So now it means perceiving the world in different ways. It's like, for them, A, B, C, D, you can look at perhaps from a little different angle. Like it's like, you can see from, the distance, how you can categorize, how you can see, you can paint, how you can picturize each and every letter of it. Right? So you perceive the world in new ways. One thing that is. Secondly, find a hidden pattern. Find hidden pattern in things, situations, and behavioral patterns. Okay, so you find different patterns, like without reproducing the same pattern, that make connections with unrelated phenomena. Right, make connections, proper connections, whether you are able to make meaningful connections or not. With it's like, with different altogether unrelated phenomena. No, it's not like that. It's, you have to make sure, like, you tie to the appropriate thread and you bring out the essence of it. Like it is again all, your creativity, and then whether to be able to generate solutions and act on them. It's like, if there is a problem, you need to be a problem solver. My dear upcoming graduates, if you are working in any company, you have to be with this problem solving mind always. Like there exists always, there is, like some or the other way, you find a problem. Like even you can really go through that sort of problematic condition. So in that situation, what you do is you sit over there and try to reflect on that and try to provide a solution to that particular problem, and you can design and come up with different ways. Okay, so this is the basic criterion you follow. So you have to have this kind of problem solving mindset, instead of saying that, oh, we have a very limited knowledge, but then we are unable to resolve the issue. We have very sort of like, very limited knowledge, but then like you have to act on the solutions if you are part of that particular organization or company or institution. Try to resolve it. Think on it at least. Think over it. And in case if you are not able to provide a solution to that, at least try to understand the intensity and the complexity and the integrity or the relativity of that sort of problem. So if in the picture you can see innovation, thinking outside the box, mind, idea, vision, imagination, inspiration. So all these are colors or shades of creativity. So what is this innovation? So innovation is something which you create again. So I would say that it is another synonym or another way of expressing or talking about your creativity. In case you are not ready with the creative idea that you have been thinking or nurturing for so long, then it's okay. Take time to germinate your thoughts. try to grasp and grab more information or knowledge, substantial amount of knowledge and a kind of wisdom related pertaining to that topic, and then try to solve or resolve, try to think of various options which you can provide. Always go for alternatives. If plan A is not the solution, then what will be the plan B? So any project or any work that you are willing to take up can always be fetching, or it is always an added advantage or an added point to the customer or to the employee, right? So you have to innovate, you have to come up with different innovative thoughts. For example, if you are working in a like corporate culture in a company, in a big company, where you can think of it, see, almost the projects or the basics are very similar or very normal. So the foundational things are very common. Okay. So you don't have to work on the same thing. So this kind of redundant work will leave an impression on you that you are a person who would always try to produce one form of replica without actually becoming very creative. So what you say is apply the basics, apply the foundational principles, but then try to see it from a newer perspective. So that is what, and the way you bring out the project can always be very newer, and something that will be the first thing that the world would see it. And make sure you, even if you take ideas from others, but then shape those ideas or bring out those ideas in the form of your own kind of like innovative and creative output. Okay, so innovation is something every candidate, upcoming engineering graduate should possess. Next, what is that? Thinking outside the box. So always come out of the lines and try to think beyond and above the lines, and try to think between the lines. What can be the the solution that you can really offer? And it's always, don't just think about the power and the ability or the problems, whatever that you are really working on, within the limits. Always try to go beyond the circle, right? And when you see that even the same people are working on that, then you can change your route and quickly sit on a devising different ways and patterns. Okay, so you have to think outside it. And how is this project or this particular internship or this particular work that you are trying to do it will have or will bear a great impact on the future generation in the coming days. So see that, make sure you see these are best represented, best conveyed, best shown in futuristic kind of like futuristic days. Okay, so you can think over kind of like go out of the box and think of it. Do not find only the limited options. So this futuristic prospect or this futuristic kind of hope will always be with you in case you go outside the circle and devise your own ways. So thinking outside the box will help you see your problems from outside. Okay, and then mind is again very integral and part and parcel of creativity. Unless you use your mind or psyche, you won't be able to design your own ways of plans, right? In your working in your environment where you have to use your mind, make sure you always update yourselves with the present nuances around you. So in case if you're updated with the nuances around you, then definitely you can sharpen your mind and come up with creative ways. So make sure you don't corrupt your mind, make sure you don't spoil your mind when you are upset and down with different struggles, because creativity is much hampered by this way of thinking. So make sure you don't act very stupidly without giving out much thinking. So that's very important. And then idea, Ideas, of course, if you have a very good mindset, then obviously you will come up with greater plans. Okay, you will come up with greater visions. Then that is an advantage to you, right? And then vision. You should have this kind of vision for your company, for your project, for your work, whatever you're taking up, for any organization. That vision, mission, both are important. So you have to visualize the upcoming, like, object, your goal, ambition. What is that you want to achieve, and how do you see yourself, from different, from next 5-10 years, or what is it you want to really aim, or where do you want to see your company with good, great projects, in case if you are willing to work on that. So where do you see your company stand? So that is very important. Okay, so you have to try, and you have to try to come up with different innovative ideas, and vision is very important. So wherever you, this is the motive you have to have. So this kind of principle you need to have, this kind of far ambitious kind of, like, objective, you need to have your that in your midst, because unless you are very clear of the vision you have, you won't be able to come up with a plan and implementation or action plan, that you have it already with you. So you have to have this vision at the same time if you want to sound yourself to be creative. Okay, next thing is imagination. What is this imagination? Imagine, you have to imagine things for yourself. Okay, you have to be very kind of like, your thinking level should be at another zone. It's like, you don't have to sit with the existing thing, output or input that you have it with. Imagine new ways, and you see if something that doesn't exist, but make sure you try to visualize that, and see that you are almost like going across the risk zones. Okay, so if you are willing to work on the problem solving solutions, or if you're willing to work with the people around or the pals around you, and make sure you devise your plans or action plans by imagining different future goals. Okay, and if in case you are implementing this particular strategy, then what will be some possible repercussions, or what will be some hidden agenda, or what agendas, what will be some hidden more results, or it's like, sometimes why hidden result. This kind of result is a bit time taking, because not immediately you can see the result, but maybe after some fruitful investment, where you try to solve and try to kind of try to give that sort of items, then definitely you can reap the success when it is at the appointed objective or appointed goal, right? Or time. So you have to make sure you imagine things, you have this kind of vision, clear vision, you have very good ideas, you have a very sharp and innovative mindset, and always you think outside the box in order to be innovative. And all of these are very important. In addition to that, inspiration is what you needed. At the most, you have to work harder than the existing market success. Okay, so you have to get inspired. This kind of inspiration is very integral, or is very kind of pivotal in terms of your creativity. So unless you are inspired to take up certain things, you won't be able to show interest, or you won't be able to show and work on your creativity. That is why all these are very important: innovation, thinking outside the box, and all the listed ones. Now, what is this now? And what is this process of creativity? Is there any process? Yes, of course. You should know how you can think of this creativity. So if you want to be creative, then you have to know the process, or what are some important things you can really focus when you think about this creativity. So now, there are two important stages, okay? Thinking and producing. Thinking and producing at the same time, innovation. Okay, so you have to think and introduce. Now, what are these two stages? Do you really need them, or do you just think that they are not very significant? So you have to think about this creativity in different ways. So one thing is like you have to think of an idea. Okay, you have to think of an idea or an approach which is either different from others or altogether new. You try to think something which is different from already that has been worked out. So you try to start different startup kind of kind of like what do we say, this kind of innovative practice, because in all these years people like to work with the same old practices. So try to come up with new things and think of it very differently. Even if that is the same idea, think of it very differently. So which is either different from others or altogether new. At first, what I would suggest is, instead of creating something very new altogether suddenly, abruptly, because you are a starter, almost like you're a person who would like to start everything very new. Okay, so you, instead of trying to start everything new, try to make sure you take the same old thing, existing thing, but try to think about the other problems, okay, which are not very much evident and apparent from the result so far. Okay, so do that. And then it is very important, if you have ideas but do not act them, so it is again a waste of waste of thinking over and over time. So if you have ideas but sometimes people are not ready to, or that they are not willing to work and act on them, they feel that their ideas are very much enough. Okay, so you have to be very imaginative, but at the same time you have to be very creative. So imagination precedes creativity, because unless you imagine anything, you won't be able to create it. So what you have to do is, you have ideas. Sometimes some people are not able to move any longer, so they get blocked, or they feel that they are unable to act on them. So if you have ideas but do not act on them, you are imaginative but not very creative. So what is it? So it's all a futile attempt in case if you are not going to work on that, right? So that's very important. Thinking of an idea or an approach is something very different from others. And even if you have ideas but do not act them, it is very futile. Okay, and then you have to produce it. So not only that, you should stop thinking, but you have to start producing. That means you're converting your idea into action. So this is where you start your implementation process. So thinking and producing both go, hand in hand. And of course, thinking precedes producing. So now, creativity means you should think of different things, like you have to explore, you have to have this kind of, you have to restore, you have to decide, you have to implement, you have to evaluate, you have to be adaptable, you have to see that you are trying to identify. Okay, whether you are identified, is there any refinement, is there any perfect shape to what you have been thinking, or whether you are able to present properly or not, whether you are able to kind of like penetrate into problem and think of other alternative devices. Okay, so that is very important. So it is very very normal. What I say is, it's very normal to work with same old practices, but it is very important, you have to do it. So it's always like, try to create a new product and then try to think of the solution, which you have to innovate and think of the solution and you can follow the process, right? So that is very important. Now let us think of this barriers. So in case you're innovative and you have this thinking, you produce something, and then even after doing this thinking and producing, then why are you not able to establish any success for yourself? So maybe there are some barriers for you to create. So now, shall we start thinking about these barriers so that you can remove all these things and completely work on that. So you have to you have to make sure that you're aware of certain barriers, right? Making assumptions is one barrier. Cultural barriers is another one. Emotional barriers is another one. So you have to think about all these things. So maybe all these are responsible. So let us think about this making assumptions. For example, you are very much ready and prepared to look at the aspects, right? And make your own assumptions. And there you see like they don't care. Like people don't care for your thoughts, and then there's no feedback, proper feedback at the same time. So you have to worry. It's like you start getting depressed, where you do not get any feedback, and you won't get any recognition. At the same time, you won't get enough feedback. So for example, this is one kind of assumption that you will have before even you start the work. So making assumptions prior to your actual implementation is wrong. So if you make such assumptions that nobody will care your work, or nobody will acknowledge your ideas, nobody will nobody will really take care of those things, then it's like these presumptions will definitely spoil and ruin your mindset. Okay, so you should not think of this. Making assumptions is more important. Next, cultural barriers, right? Cultural barriers. So what is this culture? So because some people, they are not able to get in the, get they are not able to get involved, or they are unable to participate in different tasks because they need some kind of work friendly environment. And especially they may not be very comfortable in using language, they may not be very comfortable in understanding your own ideas, because different culture, each culture has its own meaning and values. So you have to enter others culture in order to understand their mindset. Okay, some people, they are unable to involve. It's because they think that it requires a creative approach on account of cultural barriers. You have to work on that. Okay, so you have to rule out all that orthodoxical or community or religious beliefs based on different culture, from different cultures. You have to rule out all those things. And even because of all these things, you won't be able to project your ideas or present your ideas before others. You have to be aware of others' cultures, other people's culture at the same time, because when they present any idea, then you can see from their perspective. So that's very essential. Next, now we'll talk about some emotional barriers. So what are these emotional barriers? Emotional barriers will hamper this kind of thinking. Okay, emotional barriers will hamper this kind of progress. Having emotional barriers will not let you do, or will not let you connect or complete the project that you have already started, because these emotions will block your vision. These emotions will block your thinking. My dear learners, make sure that you are never in bondage of these emotional barriers, because a lot of people have strong emotional approach. Okay, a lot of people have strong emotional approach to changing the existing pattern of things, and remain attached to the older order. Okay, still they keep on clinging to that without realizing that change is the only constant factor in life. Okay, so you have to be very careful and make sure you think that a lot of people will be beyond emotional barriers. No, they get blocked, and they won't be able to move, because constant pressure, and irreverent attitude, kind of attitude where they don't value your things, where your ideas are put down and they are turned down, and they are not no more allowed to take any form. Then that's where you will get blocked, and you will get a continuous problem. You will get kind of like negative feedback. So automatically you won't be able to progress whatever you think. So this will not let a creativity to pass on properly. So that is very important. Make sure you are not in this kind of blockchains. Emotional barriers should be ruled out and should be taken care of. Now let us think, what are some factors affecting workplace creativity, right? For example, maybe you are a very good innovative person, or somebody who will like to take a lot of amount of who like to work on that and take a lot of effort and take very serious challenge. But you are not a person who are unable to who is not, or who is not withstanding the cultural or the cultural setup or work culture setup. Then what is the use? So all your creativity will be of of no use, right? So now these are some factors you have to figure it out and make sure you don't be under this pressure, or under these kind of like factors. Like, now what are they? Stress is one factor, job security is one factor, career prospects is another factor. Stress, job security, career prospects. So how do you have to deal with it? For example, the kind of stress you have in your workplace may hinder your creativity. Even if you are a person with great knowledge, wisdom, and even if you are willing to work hard, and even if you have very good innovators, so the kind of stress that you have in your workplace, in your organization, or in your company, wherever you work, that this kind of stress will not allow you to think, because you don't feel interest, you don't find any interest in your in your workplace, and when in working all that, and then finally you won't be able to do it. But make sure that is not the right attitude. Maybe that is true, but you have to be very patient enough to resolve your own problems. You have to rise to the occasion, try to come up with some problem solving things. Okay, you can solve your issues, try to tackle them, even if those risk issues will cost you a lot, your peace. Then try to work on that, and try to identify the exact cause and make sure you handle the problem. Because if you let go, then automatically the negative things that will they take control over you. So and what happens, even if you're a person who has very good innovative ideas, this kind of stress will not let you go so properly. So job security, and this kind of some people will feel very insecure, so this job security is very important for them. Then what do? They are too much conscious of that, and they won't be able to work on the innovative project or innovative ideas. Even if they have, they are overpowered and more influenced by this kind of stress. Job security and career prospects you have to see, and what sort of opportunities you may have. Or maybe, for example, if this is already good and you are not very satisfied, you think of what may come very next, and what will be the better one. And if you keep on thinking it, you won't be able to do justice to the present task that you have taken up. No, you should not allow these things, factors, to hamper your creativity. Make sure you are satisfied, and but you should not be complacent with the work quality. You have to give in your best. You have to work hard. You have to fulfill the goals and ambitions of that particular company or organization that you have to work in. You have to give 100% your effort. You make sure you have all good qualities. You work hard and expect good rewards. And do not let this stress, job insecurity or job security, consciousness of job security or career prospect, to ruin your creative skills, right? Think. So you have to think. Thinking is very important. Acting is more important. Innovative. Think, act, innovate. So these are very important. Now, how are things, steps are useful, or steps that stimulate your creativity. Sometimes you are very lethargic and you don't feel any interest in creating new things. So in this stage, what you do is you have to stimulate your own creativity. That's very important. So now, how do you stimulate? You have to take care of certain steps. So the steps are as following. Associating, number one. Okay, associating is number one. Number two, questioning. Number three, observing. Number four, experimenting. Okay, so you have to make sure that you observe all these things. What are those? Associating. How do you have to associate? You have to analyze. Okay, you have to look at different ideas. You have to get associated with different environmental conditions. You have to people there, network there, projects there. Look at different ideas and then categorize the problems. You have to associate one with another, group them, categorize them, see the similar things, similar groups, and then you can work much on that. And then you have to question at the same time, posing questions on, to your project or to the work that you are working in. You have to pose questions to yourself and others, and questioning the validity and practicality of ideas and approaches. You have to see how valid it is, how reliable it is, whether there is validity and reliability, whether it just, it doesn't continue any longer, or in the market with the upcoming projects, or it may become outdated. So you have to see the reliability at the same time. So you have to question, raise certain questions and answer to yourself. And then observe. What you have to do, some surveying, questioning. You have to do some, observe people, events and situations around you. So, and make sure that you have do this networking also. Where, for example, you need a lot of cooperation and coordination from others. Otherwise, you won't be able to get or secure enough information and knowledge on that. So make sure you have enough support, cooperation and coordination, and those who are willing to help you come up with creative ventures, right? That's more important. Then experimenting is something you have to do it. The validity of any idea or approach cannot be ascertained unless there is a process of experimentation. So you cannot prove or bring out the output and result, say that is almost very sure that it is valid, unless you experiment with that idea. So experimenting should be part of your innovation. Okay, vision, ideas, innovation are very important. And let us look at some more barriers. We looked at barriers in the, before you start, you have to start the process. Now we will look at some more barriers that may come alongside your, work. So these are some perceptual barriers that may cause hindrance. Resource barriers, stress. Again, stress in what? We discussed already, stress when thinking of the environment, but now here stress while undertaking the project, right? So now sometimes our perceptions play a crucial role. So how do you think whether you have the clarity or not, or you are completely bewildered? So that is more important. If you're not very clear about it, then you cannot continue smoothly smoothly devise those plans. Okay, it's perceptual, how you think is more important. And then resource barriers also, and if you fall short of it, then you may not continue. Sure. So try to apply for the resources, try to approach the people who are concerned with it, try to request them and get the things that done for you. Okay, in order to create something, several resources may be needed, and that's very important. Now, stress during the work. So because sometimes you may think of some innovative idea, but then some people may discourage you, or you see that there is a negative result of it. So at once, do not take any decision. Experiment it again and again. Then you may see some positive results. So now, as you as you innovate, as you create, you may see different people, okay, types of people there. Okay, so they are dependent. Morely, creativity is more dependent on type of person, who you are, what you are. So there are different types of people. Number one, one category is like those that make things happen. Those that make things happen. And people who, try to work on that, implement it. And sometimes people, there are those, they let it happen. They think, okay, let that happen, let us not take initiative. So in the first case, they will make things happen. In the third case, those that don't know what happened, not even aware of what the things are up to and what happened over there. So those that are not yet to take place, but still they are not very sure. So we have to be careful. You don't fall in one of those categories, right? So now let us see kinds of creativity. We have to know that. And different people, they talked about these kinds of creativity, types of creativity. So very intelligent people, masters, they coined different words and they gave their own ideas. Like one is Einstein. He says, essential for something, creativity is an idea. No, he quoted and he made sure that it's, that he worked on that kind of idea that he produced during his time. So he said creativity as an idea. It's an idea almost, like basically it pops up in your mind. Whereas Marx says it's elaborative. What is done with the idea? So what you do with the idea, that's very, an extension of what Einstein said. And then Tagore says, how is the idea communicated? You see the process. It's an idea, and what is done with that idea, and how is this idea communicated? That, are you communicating through a proper channel or not? So that's very important. And Ambani says, like Dhirubhai Ambani says, idea converted into a profitable venture. So if you have this idea, whether you are able to germinate it and produce profitable, output or result. It's a kind of like profitable venture where you grow up into unknown place and try to adventure that. So, and then Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he says, idea for survival. Basically, that is, you have to, survive in any work type you take it. And it's just idea for your survival. And Mahatma Gandhi says, as it's an idea that is made to grow, empower others. You have to empower yourself, enlighten yourself, and then you have to empower others. That's very important. So you have to keep all these things in your mind before you take up your new profession, right? So I wish and I hope that you become a person with great creativity, with who has this lots of creativity and innovative ideas. So I hope you implement all these ideas in your future days. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.